Happy New Year. It's the first day of 2025, and I wanted to take a moment and reflect back on the 2024 year for my channel as well as cornhole in general, reflect on some different things, some changes, kind of what's happened in 2024, and then look ahead to 2025 and talk about what I think is going to happen and what I want to see happen in the sport of cornhole and in the ACL and the ACO more specifically. Let's jump in. I want to first start with a 2024 review, and I want to talk about kind of my channel, where I was, where I am, what I've done. I went back through all my bag reviews I did for 2024. I actually reviewed 137 different bags in the year 2024, which is awesome. That's a lot. And that really, if you look back and think about December, the last few weeks in December, I didn't get my normal reviews on a weekly basis. I was really very sparse in the reviews because I was busy in my work life. So if I continue through December, I might have even hit close to that 150 mark. But I'm proud of the 137. It's a lot of bags to review. And what I'm even more impressed with, what I'm more proud about, is of those 137 different bags I reviewed, they were from 59 different bag companies. So 59 different bag companies I reviewed over the course of 2024. That means it's just over one per week, a new company per week, which that's what, like I said, I'm the most proud about, because I started this channel as a way to bring recognition and awareness to these smaller bag companies that out there that are making great bags. We all know about the big companies. We all hear the big name bag companies, but there are so many smaller companies out there that are producing just as good, if not better, bags that we aren't aware of. You know, when I first started getting into cornhole, I stumbled across some Facebook groups and some pages for these smaller companies. I bought some of their bags, and I was so impressed with the quality of those bags. And that's, again, that's one of the reasons I started this channel, was to bring that awareness. So 59 different bag companies. I love that. I want to keep that going for 2025, maybe even increase that number. That's tough to do, because that's one new bag company every week, and that's hard to do. But I want to step up from 59 different companies to over 60 for 2025. That's my goal. The most viewed review that I did, and all these stats are just on bag reviews. I'm not even talking about the podcast or the how-to videos or any other videos of it. These are just the bag reviews. The most viewed bag review I had was the Lucky Bags Pro Sniper Elite, which, to be fair, that review came out, I think, in February of 2024. So that review has had almost the entire year to get reviews. There, reviews that came out later in the year haven't had that same time period. So there may be others that step up. By the end of 2025, I may look back at 2024 and realize there were some other bag companies or bag reviews. They may have got more reviews. But as of right now, the Lucky Pro Sniper Elite was the most viewed. That's not surprising to me, because that's a big name company. That was a new bag for Lucky. That was a pretty popular bag. I think it still is a very popular bag. So I'm not surprised to see Lucky up there as one of the most, or as the most viewed review that I had. I also started the Bag Maker Championship in 2024, which I'm enjoying doing that. I don't know if you guys are liking it. I'm loving it. I think it's great. Of course, that's going to run through until the Worlds, which I think is in August, end of July, beginning of August, the ACL Worlds for 2025. So we'll continue through that through the first half of this year. If you guys like it, I'll continue it and start again for the next season on that. And maybe we can even do something to the ACO side. I just wanted to try out one. That's why I picked the ACL, the league, out initially to try. If that works out, great. Maybe we'll go to the ACO. The problem with the ACO is they have so many majors. Not all of them are televised. It's a little tougher to go find out what bags are being thrown sometimes. And if they're not live streaming those events, it becomes a little more difficult. But if this works out great and you guys like it, I may expand this. We'll see how that goes. I also want to touch on the what's in my bag. Right, that was the Thursday segment I did on. It was like a YouTube short. I posted on Instagram, TikTok as well. It was on Facebook Reels, I think, and it just talked about what bags I was throwing that week. I want to give a shout out to Dylan Otto, who put a post on Facebook. Actually, it just posted up there today, and he went through and went back and watched all those what's in my bag segments and kept a tally of what bags were there, which was very interesting to me. So I'm going to read this off here. I got it posted for you guys as well on the screen. The tied for first was the Nola Rex and the Templar X'd out. Second, or maybe third, I guess it'd be with the Big Mac bags, whatever. Then it was the Southwest Hefe, Swag Bags KSL, Big D Maryland, and the True Cornhole Aftershock. And then he had an honorable mentions, which were the B3 Ranger, True Cornhole Trimmer, Brother Guardian X, Nola Jester, B3 Coyote, Templar, Masonic, and Rocket Bags. Bring it. That's probably a pretty good, I mean, if I were just to look at that list, yeah, those are probably the bags that I tend to take most often. I have no issues with that. I will say that the numbers may get, or the bag names may get skewed sometimes, because typically for me, when I do my Thursdays, I try to take one bag from one company. So if I take the True Cornhole trimmer, I'm probably not taking the Aftershock. Like, I try to get 8 different bag companies. I just like a variety. I love taking a variety. And I'm also taking in those Thursdays, I'm taking 2 or 3 new bags that I'm working on future reviews for. I'm trying to break in, or I'm trying to get some feel for. So there's typically 5 to 6 bags that I kind of pick and choose, but then the other 2 to 3 are ones that I'm doing future reviews on typically. So you get some numbers a little skewed, but honestly, I mean, if people ask me all the time, what are my favorite bags? And I think it don't even mention down here, somewhere down here. Yeah, Mike's been very transparent about the fact he could never make a top 10 list of bags because of all the various situations, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I don't do top 10 lists because there's so many variables out there, which is why I uh, take so many bags with me when I go to the league night or go to tournaments or go to events, is because I don't always know the situations. I don't always know the conditions, the board conditions. And even from game to game, boards may change, your opponents change, the way I'm throwing. If I'm not throwing confidently, I'm going to throw a different bag than if I'm really confident in my throw. I change up how I want to play. And so I'm going to change that. I like to change bags to fit my throw, instead of to fit the throw and style I want to play, as opposed to change my throw. I hate when I change my throw. That's when I make mistakes. When I try when I get to a faster board and I stick with the bags I have and I try to throw softer, that's when I end up front boarding it or side railing it, or just being really inaccurate and causing and making mistakes. But if I can pick a slower bag, then I can still throw my same throw and get the desired results. And so that's what I try to do. I don't want to change my throw any more than I have to. And that's why I don't do a top 10 list. But if you want to know what my favorite bags are, that's a pretty good list of my favorite bags. Maybe it's not a complete list. There are other bags out there that I really do like, but that's a pretty good list of bags that I like. So shout out to Dylan for taking the time to do this. I know it's not. From going back and getting the information from my bag reviews over the course of the year, I know, it's not as easy to do. So I appreciate Dylan doing this for me, for all of you guys. Shout out to him. Now I want to jump into the ACL, the league, and talk about some changes that happened in 2024. First, I'm going to talk about probably the biggest one was the step over. Step over is gone. They had made some tweaks to the rules in the 23-24 season, but in 2024 season, 24-25 season, which started September of 2024, so just a few months ago, they eliminate the step over. No more step over. Now, I do think there's still some gray area there, and I do think they can still do better in finding ways to enforce that. I never had a problem with the step over. I've been, I think, pretty clear about that in the past, that I didn't mind the step over. I just didn't like the fact that the ACL, when they made tweaks to it, they didn't enforce it. So if you weren't going to enforce it, then just get rid of it, and that's what they did. So they got rid of that. The ACL also introduced in 2024, a few months ago, this new season, round limited opens. I think there's been some mixed opinions on that. Some people like it, some don't. I'm not a fan of it, but I haven't personally played in one yet, so I don't, I'm on the outside saying I don't typically like round limited cornhole. It's just not the same as regular cornhole. But I think some people do like it, so we'll see if that sticks around or not. Another change they made was the open division is now gone. So now you have the pro elite division for pro players and elite players. They can play in that, and then amateur players have your separate division. So amateurs no longer play with the pros at opens. And the opens also now count towards pro points, which is maybe part of that change there. Although that's a change I don't like. I hope maybe they find a way to revert back, or maybe make some of these opens where amateurs can play with it. I miss that in the cornhole world, of allowing amateurs to play with pros. One of the unique things about cornhole is that the skill level is not that great. The talent isn't that big of a gap. So amateurs can play with pros and can be somewhat competitive, right, to some degree. And so I think that's unique. And I love that cornhole allowed that. I wish they'd bring it back. The ACO, the organization, still allows that. So if you really want to play with pros, you can go play in the ACO. The TCL doesn't have, there are no TCL pro players. There are pros ACL and ACO pros that play in the TCL. So if you want to play against pros, you can also go there if you want to, but the ACL doesn't allow that. And then the other thing I'll mention in 2024, and this was really through the whole 2024 season, into 23-24 season, and now the new 24-25 season, that's the increase in the L and H versions of bags. We're starting to see more bag companies come out with L versions or H versions, your lighter or heavier versions of their bags. And I don't see that changing. I do like that. I like the ability to find a bag you like and then buy a lighter, looser version or a fuller, heavier version and tweak in the bag to fit your preference. You get the bag with the materials you like, the fill you like, and then you can tweak the amount of fill, the amount of flop on the bag to get it to your preference. I love that. It almost makes bags a little more customizable. I hope to see more companies start going on. We're seeing more companies going that route. Eventually, I think all companies will go down that route. And I think it's a positive trend. I do think that there's some things that need to change on that, and I'll get into that for when I get into the changes for 2025. We'll get there. Now I'm going to jump into the ACO, the organization, and a couple of the changes that happened in this past season for them. One in the new 24 season, or I think it's season 20 for the ACO, but it's the 24-25 season. They now have a championship bracket at all majors. Love that. If you don't know, what happens now is when they get to the final 8 in bracket play, they immediately create a brand new bracket, run a new double elimination tournament with those 8 players. Love that. It makes it more exciting. I almost wish the ACL would adopt that in there, because the ACL, the league, they just have their bracket winners and then they go into a single elimination tournament to play it out. So if you have 4 brackets, then they just bring the top 4 in. The problem is what if you have the 2 best players in the same bracket? I think that becomes a little unfair to that one, where with the ACO, the organization, if they have 4 brackets, once you get to the top 2 in each bracket, they then create a new bracket and run a championship bracket of 8, those 8 players, or the 8 teams, how they do it. I love it. It just seems to make it more exciting, and it makes it easier if you're watching or you want to go back and watch the event. Maybe you don't want to watch because it's tough with the league, with the way they run their live streams. When you're watching, you don't get to follow along with all the brackets. When they towards the end, they start trying to show a lot of the bracket finals on live streams, but sometimes they don't. Sometimes they have them playing somewhere else. With the organization, with them having a championship bracket, I think most all of those games and all those games get played on the live stream, so it makes it easier to see the end of the tournament. You can see those final games that really matter and watch the best players play. I love that. I love that the ACO is doing that with all. They used to do it only at Worlds, I think, and now they're doing it all the majors. So kudos to ACL for that. The other thing I've seen in the ACO organization is that L bag craze. We've seen a lot of the L bag. Talked about the L and H versions increasing in the ACL and the league. Well, the organization, we're seeing a lot of that L bag craze kind of seep over into the ACO. And I think that's going to continue as well. Again, I think now the organization has a little bit looser bag requirements, and it's easier for bag companies with the ACO stamp to submit and get bags approved throughout the season. So it makes it easier for them to get an L version or an H version of their bag. And again, if you don't play in sanctioned leagues, if you don't play in the ACL, you don't play in the ACO, you don't play in the TCL, you just play in local non-sanctioned events. The beauty of the ACO organization is those bag companies can make unstamped versions of their bags, and if they're willing, they can tweak them however they want. If they're unstamped, they can make all the changes they want. For the league, the ACL companies, they can't make unstamped versions. When they sign with the ACL, every bag they make has to be ACL stamped and has to meet the same regulations. So they don't have the freedom to make those custom bags you want. The ACO, the organization bag companies, have that freedom. So if there's a specific bag you like from an ACO company, but maybe you want it to have a different fill or a different template size or a different fullness, you can reach out to them, and if they're willing, they can make an unstamped version of it for you guys. So something to keep aware of there. The other thing with the ACO organization is they announced their next 3 Worlds location, like it was. The big one, the most shocking one, was they're going to Medford, Oregon in, I think, 2 years or 2 seasons from now. Not this season. I guess it's the next season, not really 2, but it's not the end of this season, but it's the following season. They're going to, because the end of the season is in Oklahoma, I believe. Then it's Medford, Oregon, and then it's back to Owensboro, I think. I hope I got that right. Anyway, they mentioned Medford, Oregon, which is an interesting choice, and that's probably the one that I'm going to be most interested in seeing the attendance. How many pros show up there, how many non-pros show up there, and what it looks like, because that's typically the West Coast events aren't as well attended as those East Coast or kind of Midwest, middle USA events are attended, because it's just a bigger, there's more population on the east of the Mississippi. There's more people in the U.S. than there's west of the Mississippi. So when you go that far west, it's more expensive, and it's harder for most of the people to travel over there to Oregon. So interesting to see. I mean, again, I like the fact that the ACO is expanding and taking the worlds elsewhere. The ACL, the league, they're always in Rock Hill, South Carolina, which is at the extreme, East Coast, kind of southeast of the U.S., which really makes it tough for those West Coast people to travel to the worlds for the ACL. At least the ACO is going out there and giving those West Coast players an opportunity to an easier opportunity for them to go to a Worlds event. So if you're a West Coast player and you play in the ACO, make sure you attend that Oregon Worlds if you want to see the Worlds back out that way. Now, and that's kind of the change. That's kind of the recap that I have for 2024. A lot of other things happened. There are a lot of changes there, but those were the highlights for me, or what I remember the most of 2024. Now I want to jump into 2025 and talk about changes that I want to see for the ACL and the ACO mainly. In the ACL side, I think the biggest change for me is I want clarification on the L, R, and H bags. There's a lot of confusion there. I know in the rule, and what I mean is in the rules, you can mix and match. If the LHR version is a sub series of that, or a sub model of the regular model, like take for example, Brotherhood. Brotherhood has the Guardian, and they have the Guardian L, the Guardian R, the Guardian H. Our Logic has the Prism, the same L, R, H. A Stuffed Cornhole, I reviewed the Vision and actually did a review of the different of their bags there, the L, R, H version of those bags. There's quite a few companies that have that. And if you buy the same design of that bag, you can mix and match. You can throw two L's with two R's, or an H, two R's, and an L, or whatever. You can, as long as it's the same design, same colorway, you can mix and match all you want. We don't see that happening very much, and I think that's because there's so much confusion in there, because the ACL has allowed bag companies to make L bags, R bags, H bags that aren't sub-series or sub-models of the Master. Ultra's been doing, Ultra had the Viper R long before this rule, which, and Ultra does, I don't think they have L and H. Ultra has the R and the X's and the C's and B's and all these other things. But BG came out with the Wizard L, and the Wizard L, BG was adamant, because I did my review and I was like, well, this is, I think, supposed to be a Wizard Lite, and BG was adamant that no, the Wizard L is not a Wizard Lite, it's a separate model of its own. Now, I bring that up because just a couple weeks ago, I got an email from one of you guys and asking about the Wizard, and it's a new player. It was a new player, and they said they went to an event and someone was mixing and matching the Wizard L with the regular Wizard. They actually had done that, and they were questioning if it was legit. And of course, they talked to whoever's running the league, and I don't think it was an ACL. I think it was a local league, maybe I don't think it was a region. I think it was just a local league, non-sanctioned ACL, just a local league. And I don't think anybody there really knew what to do in that situation. They messaged me, and of course, I was right away saying, no, you can't do that. BG or the ACL says they're different. So even if that league is not sanctioned, if they're playing by ACL rules, they shouldn't do it. However, I did a little research because they pointed out to me that they wanted to know where it was. So I went to look, and I'm going to bring this up here. I want to show you guys something, and this is what I mean about why I want more clarification on this. Here's the ACL website, and if you scroll down to where it says bags and equipment, you click on that, and you scroll down, get at the bottom, it has all the approved bag companies. Right here under BG, if you look, there's no longer a listing here for Wizard L. Right? And the Wizard L is supposed to be its own separate model, just like the Valkyrie or the Kingslayer or the Viking, or those. It's supposed to be its own separate model. It no longer says that. And now beside Wizard, it now says Master Series, right? Which Master Series to me refers to, that's the overall series, and then you have L, H, and R, or L, R, and H versions underneath of that. So that's new, and to me, I hadn't seen that before, but I wanted to make sure of that. So I went over and pulled up an older version of the ACL website. Now, when you go back and pull up older versions, sometimes it doesn't load. It doesn't load exactly right. But here's an old version here. I want to show you guys. This was back from, I think, May of 2024 is where this came from. If you look here under BG, if you look over here, there's Wizard L Pro. There's the Wizard L listed differently. If you go to Wizard, it doesn't say Master Series. So my question comes in then is, if this is the case, right, of the Wizard and the Wizard L now being under the same series, does that mean that the ACL changed the rule? Because the Wizard L had a different fill mix than what was in the fill was different than Wizard L. The Wizard L was a blend between the Wizard fill and their flat disc fill that's in the Sorcerer. They blended that to put the Wizard L, which is why it couldn't be a sub-model of the Wizard, because under the ACL rules, the bags are supposed to be the same fill mixture, same type of fill, just less fill or more fill, less to be an L, more to be an H. But now, it looks like, according to the ACL website, now maybe this is I thought maybe this was a glitch, but I started going through, and I mean, they definitely changed this, and I don't see any other bags listed as an L or an H version. Everything's under Master Series. So I don't know if the ACL changed the ruling where it can be a different fill, or if BG changed their fill. And I went to BG's website. If you go here to BG's website, you go into resources under bag selection guide. If you scroll down, if you look, the Wizard and the Wizard L both have Performance Blend as their fill. So I don't know if BG is now using the same fill in the Wizard L and the Wizard. And so now the Wizard L is because according to the ACL website, the Wizard L looks like now it is a Wizard Lite, which is what BG was adamant about, that the Wizard L would never be a Wizard Lite. It's a separate own model. Now it looks like it is. So, and the reason I see is based on all of this, from what I'm reading, from what the ACL rulebooks say, you can mix and match the Wizard L with the regular Wizard if it's the same design, same colorway, all of that. I think you can. And that's where I'm confused. I wish if this is the case, I wish when the ACL made these changes, they would share that, right? If the ACL changed the ruling that you can use different fills with the L's, the R's, and H's, different fill mixtures, different fill ratios, and still be interchangeable, I wish they announced that. If not, if BG made a change, I wish BG, and I'm not trying to pick on BG. I know people think that I hate BG. I don't hate BG. BG is a very popular company, and so most people know about them. The Wizard L is a super popular, one of the most popular bags out there. And this was the question as it came to me, was related directly to the Wizard and the Wizard L. And that's why I'm not trying to attack BG. I'm not trying to be negative here. I'm just trying to, but I wish, and I put this to all companies, not just BG, but all companies. If you're going to make a change in your bag, whether it's the fill, whether it's the template, whether it's a material change, whatever it is, if you're making a change, you're making a tweak, there should be something somewhere, either on your website that says, hey, this is a new version, this is the updated version, or you post something somewhere saying, hey, we made a change, we made a tweak, we did this, we changed this, and put it out there. I don't like when changes are made and there's nothing said about that, because again, for me as a reviewer, maybe it's a little selfish for me, because when someone asks me a question, I'm reverting back to, someone asking about the BG Wizard, right? If they've changed the fill in the Wizard, I'm thinking back to the 24 version that had the old style fill, right? I'm not thinking of the Wizard L if it does have the new Wizard L blend in there. That's not what I know. That's not how it plays. Now, if someone asks me questions, I'm basing on the information of the bag that I threw whenever I reviewed that Wizard, right? So I just wish there was a way to, I wish companies would do better about updating us with when they make changes. You don't have to be exact. You can just say, hey, we tweaked, BG can say, hey, we tweaked the Wizard. The Wizard now has the same, we like the fill in the Wizard L. We love that. The Wizard now uses that same fill. It's just more of it. That's all you have to do. It's not that complicated. Very easy to do. Put that out there. I mean, maybe they share that in social media. Maybe I missed it. I could be. I went to the website. There's nothing on the website that really says anything about, other than that one chart I bought up that says that the Wizard now has the Performance Blend, which is the same as the Wizard L. It looks like BG has two different fills now, a Performance Blend and a Flat Blend, and that's it. Right. So I'm assuming that the Viking and the Mercenary all got different fills as well, because they're both showing Performance Blend, right? I mean, they used the Viking, the Mercenary, and the Wizard all had the same fill. Now it looks like they've got the same fill that's in the Wizard L, which is, I'm guessing that's the mixed fill. I don't know. So for me, it's just the questions, right? I want more clarification. I want more communication. I want the ACL. I think for me, the biggest issue I've always had with the ACL is lack of communication. They just don't, as an amateur player, I don't feel like the ACL cares about me, cares about my thoughts, cares about anything. I feel like the ACL is more pro focused, and the ACL wants to be a pro only league. That's the direction they want to go. I think that's their ultimate goal, is to eventually get rid of the amateur side in the ACL. They want to be just pros, pro only, maybe a pro and elite, but they don't want the amateurs. The problem is they right now they need the amateurs, because we're the ones that are funding and paying for a portion of that pro division. So until they can build their funding up enough to support the pro side without the amateur, they have to have the amateurs. But I just feel like as an amateur, the ACL just doesn't really want me there. They tolerate me, but they don't want me. And I think part of it is a lack of communication, right? They make changes. To them, they don't seem like it matters. And I'm speaking of the fact that if they change this, but even if they didn't, I want more clarification on the L, R, and H bag. I sent an email to the ACL when the Wizard L first came out. I can't remember, whenever it first came out. I think that I sent an email to the ACL. I think that was like in September of 2023, I believe, was when I reviewed the Wizard L. Anyway, I sent an email to the ACL asking for clarification, because the Wizard L was a different model. So I was trying to get clarification, how as players do we know when you can mix and match the L's, the R's, and the H's? And I got no response back. And over the last 2 years, I'd say year and a half, 2 years, I think I've sent 5 different emails to the ACL asking. And every time I send them, I'm not trying to be I got you, trying to get them to trip them up to say something I can go out here and share on my YouTube video and say, look what the ACL said, ha ha ha. Now I'm actually putting, and I put in my emails, I just want to make sure I'm sharing the most accurate information. And I'm just looking for information. I'm looking for someone to clarify the rule. Like I sent an email about the step over rule. I sent multiple emails about the LR and H. I've sent other emails. I can't remember what question I was asking, but just trying to get clarification so that when I do these videos, I can give you the most updated information, or I can answer your questions as accurately as possible. And I've gotten, I think of the 5 emails I've sent, I've gotten 1 email back, and it wasn't even an answer to my question at all. And so it's frustrating when I'm trying to get answers and they're just kind of ignoring me. And I mean, even forget the YouTube channel. As a player, it's frustrating to me. Is like, if I'm a player, wouldn't you want to help me make sure I'm doing things correctly? Right. And so that's something I want the ACL to do a better job of communicating in 2025, communicating to us. It's so easy for them to put something on social media and go, hey, here's a rule change. Here's what it is. Hey, here's what the LRHs are, or hey, look, we changed the rule now about mix and matching bags. Now they don't, for L and H versions, they don't have to be the same fill. They can be different, or whatever it is. Just put something out there and say, here's the changes we made. And I don't care if you say why. Just make sure it's clear and accurate so we know that what we're doing is right. I hate going to a tournament because now, like, you go to a tournament and someone does use this rule and they do mix and match bags, L, H, and R's with their set. Do you know if it's legal, the set they have? I don't know. If you call them out to a local director or the regional director, are they going to know? I doubt it. I doubt it. I don't even know if you went to an open and you called them out there. Are the directors there going to know? I don't even know if they know if you can mix it, because based on the rules right now and the way things are written, you can mix and match the Wizard with the Wizard L. Based on the way the rules are and the way everything shows that I showed you on the ACL site, it looks like now you can mix and match those two, which means that either the rule had to change or the fill in the bags had to change, right? One of the two, but yet I can't find information that either one has changed. So there's the confusion there. I'm going to leave it at that. Now, to go to the ACO organization, I also want more clarification. And this is maybe not just ACO specific. This is kind of, maybe it applies to ACL as well. I want them to simplify the bag stamps. I think the ACO is probably too simple in the fact that there's just a stamp, there's no year on it. The problem I have is, and again, this is a question that one of you raised to me, was 724. 724 was an ACO stamp bag. They went away for a year to the ACL. Now they're back in the ACO. The question they had was, can they use one of the older ACO stamped bags? Because the rule in the ACO is, if it's stamped and that bag company is still an approved company, you can throw that bag. Well, there was a year where 724 wasn't an approved ACO bag company, but now they are again an ACO approved bag company. It's a gray area. I don't know. They've changed their bag names only because the ACL, the league, still has the rights for, I think, 3 years on those bag names before 724 can get them back if they want them back. So they had to change the names, but it's the same bag, and that bag was approved, and now 724 is back to being an approved bag company for the ACO. Can you throw them? I don't know. I have no idea. And so if someone showed up with an old ACO stamped version of the WMDs or the Anarchies or something, and they threw them, I wouldn't know if that's legal or not. I wouldn't know what to do. If I called a director over, I don't know if they would know. Again, so there's a lot of confusion out there with stamps. On the ACL side, the league side, I don't like the way they do it. I hate the way they do it because they put the year, like right now you're buying bags. I mean, well, and now it is 2025, but in 2024, you were buying bags with the 2025 stamp on it, but the bags were good for I think till 2027 or something. 25, I don't know. 20, I don't know. Like right now in 2025, you can still throw bags that are stamped 2023. It's so confusing. I love the way the TCL does it. The TCL creates bags and it has a stamp that of the year that bag expires. So if you buy a set of bags and it has 26 on it, you can use that until the end of 2026. Right? If it has 27 on it, use it until the end of 2027. It's much easier to see the expiration date of the bag than the date the bag or the year the bag was made. And it's not even the year made, because you can have 2023 bags made in 2022, but they're still good to use now. It's super confusing. I wish these leagues would make the bag stamps simpler. And almost, I don't mind the bags having an expiration. I don't mind the year of them expiring, because I do think bags change. Leagues make rule changes. They may tweak their designs. Like if the ACO tweaks the requirements of their bags to some way, all the old bags going to be grandfathered in? It's going to make it a little difficult, make it more confusing. Or are they going to eventually have to do something different? So by having stamps also as the consumer, I know that if I buy this bag, it's the 2025 version of the bag, the 2026 version of the bag. So if the company makes a change, I know which version I'm buying. If they make the change when the year changes, right? There can be some gray because in the ACO they can make changes mid-season all they want as long as they get it approved. So there's there. But I wish the ACO would go with some kind of year stamp on there, even if it's a 5-year stamp. I don't care, whatever. I mean, bags aren't going to last forever, and if you're playing on a cornhole, every 3 to 4 years, you're probably going to buy a new set. You're probably buying new sets every year anyway, as new back comes out, new designs, new models, new materials, new fill they're using. You're probably buying new bags, so it's probably rare that you're throwing a bag more than 3 years. Some of you are probably still throwing the bags you threw 4 or 5 years ago. That's great. But for most of us, a stamp expiration date isn't going to be a burden, isn't really going to cost any money. It just helps clarify what bags are legal and which ones aren't. So hope to see that in the 2025 season is more clarification or simplifying of the bag stamps for the ACL and the ACO. The other thing that I think, I don't know if I want to see this, but I think a change that we're going to see, or the direction we're headed as cornhole, is we're going to start seeing more and more leagues getting away from the ACL, ACO affiliation and just being leagues. And I think that's good. I think cornhole doesn't need, if you're an amateur player, we don't need to be sanctioned with the pros, right? Like I can go play golf and it doesn't have to be a PGA sanctioned golf event. I can just go play a golf tournament or play a golf event without being, I can still watch the PGA, I can still support the PGA, but I can play an event without it. I can go play, you can go play tennis and you don't have to be part of the pro tour in tennis, right? You can just go play tennis, whatever. You can play sports and not be part of the pro tour. And I think in cornhole, these local leagues, these regional leagues, they don't have to be sanctioned with these pro leagues. You can be unsanctioned, which means less regulations, simpler for players to come in, easier for newer players to come in. They don't have to buy memberships, and the money that the players pay to play in the tournament, more of it can go back to them in payouts because you're not the league directors and the people running the tournaments don't have to pay fees to the ACL or the ACO to run those events, and they have more freedom to run them the way they want instead of trying to stick by rules that a league is creating that may be confusing for players, or the ACL, ACO don't always have exactly the same rules, so there can be some confusion if an ACO player comes to play in a local ACL league or vice versa, right? Plus, bag wise, if you live in an area where there's only ACL and you travel on vacation and you go play in an ACO league and all of a sudden you don't have bags to throw, right? Where a local league that's unsanctioned, you can bring whatever bags you got as long as they meet whatever requirements that local director sets for that league or that tournament. It doesn't matter what stamp is on there. So I think we're going to see more local events, more non-sanctioned events, more tournaments that are not ACL, ACO sanctioned. And I think that's good. I really think that's good for growing the sport, to bring new players in. I think sometimes it can be overwhelming. It can be really confusing for a new player to go, oh, I want to go play this league, but it's an ACL league. I don't know what I need. I don't know what I need to do. I get a lot of questions. People say, I'm going to play my first time in an ACO tournament, and I don't know what bags I can and can't throw, or I'm playing an ACL tournament. I don't know what bags I can throw. I don't know what I need to do. And so I think going unsanctioned it's just easier for newer players to make that first step into the league and help grow the sport. So that's the direction I think we're headed. Now I want to jump into goals for 2025, goals that I have for 2025, as well as maybe even get you guys to share with me some of your goals. The first thing I'll say is every year I start a new year, I always say, I want to play more tournaments. That's my goal. I want to play more tournaments this coming year. And I say this year, I want to go play some ACL. I want to play an ACL Open. I haven't played an ACL Open yet ever. I want to go play in one. I haven't played an ACO Major either. I want to play one of those. But honestly, I hate tournament play. I really do. I play cornhole because it's fun. And I'm a very competitive person. So it's odd for me to say this, that I don't like the competition, but I think cornhole and the ACL and less so in the ACO, but it's starting to get there in the ACO, it's becoming to a point where people are playing because they want their stats, right? They're all worried about their PPR. They're all worried about, where they're placing, and they're worried about they're worried about everything other than having fun. And I go to these events, I just want to have fun. I want to have fun. I want to have a good time. I don't care if I win. I don't care if I lose. I'm there to have a good time, right? And that sounds weird because, again, I'm competitive. And to me, I always want to win everything I play. So when I go to these events, I do want to win. But I also want to walk away knowing that it was fun. And the few times I've played some competitive tournaments, it's not as fun as it wants to be. And that's why I love playing in my local league, love playing local events, because I know the players. I can get up there, I can trash talk with them and do it in a fun way and not offend them, not make them mad. I think we have to be careful. A lot of times people get easily offended in our culture. I get people that, I've heard people complain that someone talks in their backswing, right? You know what? In my local league, you complain about it, but you deal with it, right? It happens, but you deal with it. Yeah, and that's part of the game. It's part of the gamesmanship, part of getting someone's head. It's part of the trash talking. But when you go to these big tournaments, people can take that personal and get very upset. And so I hate playing in tournaments or games where I feel like I'm walking on eggshells because I don't want to offend that person or do something wrong that I don't know what I'm doing, right? So I say I want to play more tournaments. I just don't know if I'm actually going to do it this year. My goals are really more focused towards the channel and just creating better videos. I want better quality videos. I want better quality audio in my videos. I want to create better content overall. I want to continue with the reviews I've done. Like I said, I know I did 59 different bag companies reviewed in 2024. I want to up that to above 60 for 2025. We'll see. I mean, that's a really hard goal because I think 59 was way more than I thought it was. It's very impressive. We'll see that. But I also want to put out more, continue the podcast here that I'm doing. I want to continue the how-to videos. I've got ideas for, I would love to get the podcast to the point where I can bring in pro players and other elite players and do interviews with them. It's just getting my equipment set up to be able to handle another person, whether because it's not going to be in person. More likely it's going to be online, a video conversation. I want it to be the best quality, right? I don't want, I hate bad audio on a podcast. I hate bad video quality on a YouTube. I know that a lot of times people don't care, but for me it's something I do care about. So I want to get to a point where I can make sure the quality is at the level that I want before I start doing it. So but that's a goal that I have. I also want to do more live streaming, not just live streaming games tournaments. Like I've been wanting to do this for over a year now. It's just set up a time where it's once a month or something and go live on my channel and do kind of an AMA, right? Ask me some questions, I can answer some questions, talk about some topics, kind of just let you guys get on there and let you guys lead the conversation. Because I know I get a lot of questions a lot of times or comments on my review videos that I may not always get time to answer. A lot of you send me messages, and sometimes it takes me a while to get back to you. I would love to have a time where it's a 2-hour, 3-hour window, whatever, however many people show up and want to be able to answer your questions live. Be right there and answer the questions. And I know sometimes there are a lot of you who have the same question, so it's easier for me to do a video like that and answer all of your questions, where I can answer 10 people's questions at one time, as opposed to answering each one of you individually in comments or messages. So it makes it easier for me, more efficient for me, but all of you get your answers, right? So I want to do more live streaming. That's something but again, it's being able to set the equipment up and to be able to do it, right? Live streaming is not hard to do. Again, it's just I want to make sure the quality's there and the live stream is where I want it to be. So, but that's something that's a reasonable goal that I think I can accomplish and do pretty soon. It's just having the time. The other thing I have is I talked about, month of December, busy time for me at work. So I wasn't really as active on my videos just because I didn't have the time to do the videos. Things have calmed down. I'm kind of back to normal, but I record. This is my son's bedroom, actually. This is where I record. My son's in college. He's home for college for the holidays so right now it's a little tougher for me. I'm still trying to manage around when he's home, when he's not, to be able to get into his room and record. But that he should be going back to college here. I think it's next week. Next week, I believe he goes back to college. So then my schedule gets back to normal and back into the routine of things, and you'll start seeing the videos coming back out like you're used to. So stick with me. I appreciate you guys bearing with me on that. As always, I love and appreciate your guys' support. It's been it's overwhelming. Really, it's humbling to see you guys support me. I love doing this. I want to continue to do this. I love the interaction I have with all of you when you reach out to me and in the comments that you make. Like I said, I read all the comments. I read all the messages. I read all the emails. I try to respond to all of them. If I don't, it's not because I didn't want to. It may have been just because I forgot to. I thought I did and didn't. Sometimes I think I answered something and then I realize I didn't. I've run across that a few times. So if I don't respond, don't hesitate to reach back out to me. Give me a week or so and reach back out. But understand that if you do send me a message, it may not be an immediate response. It just depends on, because there are times I have to separate this from, I have to have some me time, right? I work a full-time job, and then I come do this. There has to be time in the week where I step away from both. So sometimes I just have to kind of turn off the YouTube for a few hours in a day, or maybe a couple days a week, where I don't do anything. So I may not answer messages, I may not respond back, but when I get back to it, I will. I just have to step away from that. So just be aware of that. But you guys have been great. I mean, I say that there's never been a problem with that. So I'm not saying that to tell you to stop or whatever. You guys have been really understanding and been great. You know, I love the communication, I love the interaction that we're having. I love doing this. I want to keep doing this. I want to keep growing this. I want to keep, you know, making this what you want. And that's probably my question to you here as I close this video out is what do you want to see from my channel in 2025? What do you want to see me continue to do? What do you want to see me change? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear your ideas on that. And I also want to share with me, what are your goals? What are your 2025 cornhole goals? What are they? Or do you have like stat driven goals? You want a certain PPR? Do you have tournament you want to win? Maybe you want to go win your division at an open or at a major, right? Whatever it is. I'd love to hear your goals, what your plans are for 2025, as well as, like I said, share with me your thoughts, your ideas on what you want from me in 2025. So as always, I thank you guys so much for your support, and I thank you for watching.